So here is the actual machine so far. I had printed this for my other mount of the Z-axis, but now it's kind of useless. As a spring, I had to put little metal things on top and bottom to give it a little more strength, and even then you could tell it doesn't really, the marker ends up dragging like that and not really working well. So let's see, I've explained how this all is messed up together. I've got the motor on top, and it just so happens that my oven knob is the perfect size for that. I made these clips out of PCB material. Actually, I used just phenolic paper and substrate instead of actual fiberglass, so I'll have to remake them. I've cracked one of them already. Here's my mess of wires. I'm using unipolar steppers, and the reason is I had this old Hobby CNC Pro board from several years ago, and it ran on a parallel port. Well, my new laptop, of course, has no parallel port. I've got an old laptop that does, but I just got that back. What I've done here is I have my, this is my X, which is the gantry. And then I have my dual Y, so these are two motors here and here. And they are, of course, wired backwards from one another. And then I have my Z-axis up here. This is actually a fairly weak motor. It's not the same, all of them are actually weaker than the bipolar motors. If I ran them in bipolar mode, I'm sure I can get a little more out of them, but being unipolar, they're just a little weaker. I can't run as many amps through them, especially this Z, so I've tweaked that down. Now I do have the fourth axis here. If I choose to, I can add an extruder, and then I can kind of fiddle around and get something going for 3D printing. What I've used here, this is an Arduino, and it's just got the pins pinned out to a parallel port 25 DB25, and I've got a USB FTDI cable there, and all that's doing is it's running Gerbil version 9, 9G I believe, and it's just an interpreter. I get this, spit it through there, and it spits out the other way through the Hobby CNC, so I can control it using just standard unipolar motors that I had. Of course, I got the cheap, flimsy e-stop here from Inventables. So a lot of this tubing that I'll use to hide the wires once I get that going. Here's something. So I was having an issue trying to tension this top one. Since it doesn't use these clips, I was having a weird issue here. I had seen a user snake their belt around in such a way that it came up here, down, up here on the roller, down under the pulley, and then clipped to the bottom here with one of these kinds of clips, and then on the other side it had the thing standing up. But what I ended up doing, my dad actually suggested this, is just taking these old clips I had from my shapeoko version 1 and clamping them really tightly on there so that the belt doesn't shift, and then screw this in, and that kind of leveraged it out a little bit, and that keeps tension actually pretty well on the machine. An issue I have is that this rod is microscopically bent. It tends to bind a bit in a place here or there midway through, but what's worse is it actually, as it's going down, the tip of the pin, or whatever I have in there, the drill, just kind of goes in a circle, and it's about a 1 millimeter diameter circle, but it's still, if I'm making circuit boards or something, that could be an issue. I've mounted this such that got screws going into my spoil board, so it should be flat. It's not, but yeah, whatever. And this top piece here is actually the old shapeoko version 1 material. Let's see, I think that's all of the specifics. And I'm just making this video so I'll remember myself what I've done and why I've done it and how this is set up. Oh, here's an issue. So my Z-axis here, you can see, is pretty high. I can't go any lower because my V-wheel will fall off of the extrusion here. So, well, I would just have to lower the extrusion. Well, doing that requires taking apart the Z-axis, taking apart this extra plate I added here, moving all of these screws that I have in there, and those screws, it's kind of hard to see. Without those screws, this metal plate actually bends and bows in the middle. So those screws are supporting it, and these spacers are supporting it on the ends. So I have to take all of that apart, it seems, to be able to get this working. Like, I'd have to remove all of these guys, all the V-wheels, the eccentric nuts on both of those, and then I'd pull this off, and then I could loosen all 4 of the bolts in there, and then slide this down. But when I do that, I lose cutting height, which is already pretty limited. So I'm not sure how I'm going to deal with that. But right now, an ink pen stands fairly tall, and therefore drags a lot. The bit would do the same when I'm milling stuff, I'm assuming. This isn't really super supported here. But it is better than the first version, so we'll see how this goes. I forgot to mention, through all these wires, there's my power supply. So it's a hacked PC power supply. And there's my drill. So we'll eventually have something going on here, I hope. I'm going to go through some different options for the CNC machine, the shapeoko hybrid that I've been working with. So one of them is chili pepper. Notice the lack of the E here. And I'm running Gerbil 0.9 is the particular version I'm running. And I've got the settings here somewhere visible. So these are the settings that have worked for me. Do pause the screen, take note, and fix it if need be. So chili pepper. So to get chili pepper to work, what you have to do is download the JSON serial port server. Now this is actually the first time that you run it, it'll pop up here in your serial port area. You can click on it and it'll let you download it. I have the one for Intel. It's 32-bit, but that's fine. What this does is it tells you right here the port and the IP address of the server that it's running. And I just open this up now. I come down here, I say reconnect, and it identifies that I'm running Gerbil, and 0.9 of Gerbil runs at this baud rate here. So I'm going to click connect, and it is now connected. So that's pretty easy. I'm going to turn power on to my motors, and I'm going to jog left, right, back, forward, up, and down. Some neat stuff that this has, as you can see here, the G-code itself. There's a few other really cool things in here. Let's see. Now, say run a macro. You could pull down all of these different types of macros that are built in here. You can do auto leveling. You can have it to text your cell phone whenever it's finished. There's all sorts of stuff built in here, even a simulator that'll show you how it's going to run. But let's go ahead and run it. So first it's going to tell me that I need to do a tool change, and I'm going to have to unpause it after I click OK. I'm not going to change the tool because I don't have anything in it, and I'm going to unpause it, and it's going to go. So it's starting to actually move my axes in the appropriate manner to start milling, and you can see what it's doing. The good thing about this is, one, it's mostly web-based except for the server part. Also, it has this auto level piece, which is really cool. And I'm gonna stop this because it's really annoying, and I'm gonna turn my motors off. But it also has you can load a file from JSCut, and JSCut is pretty cool. There's another tool that I found that also uses JSCut in your browser. So let me find that one. Yeah, this was it. GurbbleWeb, which actually works with JSCut, and this guy's video talks all about it. I don't know where. You got to do a little installation for it. I haven't played with it myself. Another good option is G-Code Sender, which is a plugin for Chrome. Now I have that here, and I tested it. Let me close this other thing. So now my serial port is open. I'm going to click Connect. It automatically detected, and I got to give it a feed rate first. And now I can move my axes. Pretty neat. You can load a file. So let me see if I can open a example file. Now my machine is running in millimeters, so my file runs in millimeters. I'm going to say send it to the machine, and it does. If I have any issues, I can e-stop, and I'm set. So that's another really cool tool to use there. I really kind of want to play with this GurbbleWeb thing. JSCut, I'd mentioned before. You can see here actually allows you to do all sorts of cool stuff. So you can open SVG files and fiddle around with it in here. It's designed specifically for this kind of, interfacing. What's also cool is it's similar to, you have easel.com, which is a shapeoko app. Now the issue with easel, first let me just say I'm starting a new project. If I say carve, it wants me to download and install their server, but notice it only works for Gerbil 0.8c. I could not for the life of me get 0.8c to work right, so I'm not using it. But what you can do is you can import SVGs, you can share it, you can publish it, you can, where is the button to do it? There's a button here to export, export the, say I did this. Now let me export the G-code. Yeah, generate G-code and export the G-code. So that's pretty cool. There was another MakerCam, which is actually a precursor of easel, and you can actually download MakerCam as an SVG file, or sorry, not SWF file, and the entire thing can fully run in your computer. So say you don't have your computer hooked up to the internet, which I don't know why that would even exist, but you can draw things and have your cam stuff figured out. It's got all this neat stuff in here. So, but that exports G-code. Then you have to find something to send the G-code. Now I showed you chili pepper is really cool. It's just kind of annoying to get into. And the other one would have been the um, Chrome app G-code sender, which seems incredibly simple. Another option, actually there's a couple other options. I have a Gerbil controller, and this one seems to work pretty well. I can open this. The only issue I have with this is that this text interface here is incredibly slow. With all of these, I'm noticing that by default, I have to put in feed rate of 300 millimeters, well, whatever I want it to be. I have to put a feed rate in before I can actually start jogging. And so I can jog left, right. And this one, like I said, has a delay. I mean, even the browser thing is quicker than this. But what's really cool is it has a visualizer, so I can choose a file. And what is this? Oh, there's that thing I made in easel. So I can check out what it is. It shows me how many inches it is, tall and wide. I've got advanced stuff. You can go to Gerbil settings. Now beware, this thing doesn't work right. What it does is it basically takes this string of the Gerbil settings and it parses it into this format here. And then based on the index of this, the rows, it will assume something. So it assumes which version of Gerbil you're using, which is terrible because it really screws up your stuff. Yeah, see? It's assuming things, and Gerbil in 0.9 has changed all of these values, are completely different values. Another thing that bothers me with this one is you can't highlight any of this stuff. Again, this is just a serial terminal. You can open up any serial terminal and access it. So let me close that port and open up just a serial terminal. The correct speed, connect up, and I got my Gerbil, and I can send it the message to tell me all its guts. Those are the settings. So, oh, and if you are having issues with Gerbil, let me clear the data. You just hit one $sign. Oh, oops. Let me do that again. Send it $1, and it will tell you all the stuff, all the info here. And then you can start playing around with it. It takes a little while to get used to, and of course you have to tweak it, and each one of your values for your X, Y, and Z have to be calculated for steps per millimeter, and then you also have to make sure if there's anything that needs to be inverted. For instance, I'm inverting two of my axes and not the other for some reason. I don't know why. But yeah, that happens. It's really annoying. Another one that I've used, and it doesn't seem to really matter which version that I use, is Universal G-code Sender. The bat file doesn't work, but I can just open the jar. You have to have Java 1.7 or above to use this version, but it doesn't seem to render correctly. So you can see that the buttons kind of disappear and things like that as I'm doing stuff. If I browse for a file, it should be untitled in here somewhere. Yeah. So it doesn't really like to show me what's going on. And you can visualize it, which is pretty neat actually. I like that. I love that that's done in Java. And then machine control, again, I can kind of come down here, type my feed rate, and this is not an issue with the screencast. This is just what it looks like. Like, these things don't show up, but it actually does show me what's going on there. I have no idea what these things do. I like this keyboard movement for jogging. Really cool. And you can enter commands manually there as well. You go into settings and you can figure out, well, not really anything because I can't see what it says. All versions do this. I don't know if it's an issue with, here's an old version, 1.4, which didn't rely on Java 1.7, but as you can see, it does the same thing. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's that I have Java 1.8 on here or something. I'm not sure. Pretty sure I got Java 1.8. Um, yeah, got 1.8. So, yeah, I don't know what the deal is with it. It's really annoying me. But where did I get the firmware for my Gerbil? So if you go to Gerbil, it has these hex files directly on their main page. So this is 0.8c, which is what Easel uses, which I could not for the life of me get to work. The pinouts are completely different on these two devices. They're the same chip, it's the same Arduino, but it just completely different pinouts. So the one that I used is not that one. Not that one. I must have deleted. Ah, here it is. The 0.9G. I've got the Atmega 328, 16 megahertz, and you can see the baud rate there. And it says specifically for shapeoko 2 is what the SO2 is for here. I use a really nifty little tool, Xloader. There's probably better devices, but basically you find a hex file you want, and you open it up, you're connected to the thing, and you tell it the speed you're talking to it in your COM port, and you click upload, and it will send you, or send that hex file to your Arduino for you. I think that's pretty nice. I like that a lot. Of course, like I said, there's other options for that. So, not really sure what all else there is. So let me look at my notepad here. Oh, there's a couple calculators that I found useful. This is what you need to know for inverting your Gerbil settings. So if you need to invert your axes, there it is. Gerbil controller options, that's for that other tool. Where did I have that calculator? Oh, this is where you download the Gerbil's straight hex files here. Let me go back to my notes. Here's the calculator. Now this was a very useful calculator, and it helped me calculate my belt settings for my steps per millimeter.